Hello, everybody! Live from Super Bowl Radio Row. Welcome to the PHLY Eagles Show presented by Factor Meal Kits. Head to factormeals.com/Eagles50 and use code Eagles50 to get 50% off. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman in the thick of things here at Radio Row on Thursday. The big day at Radio Row, as you have explained to me, Zach.
Yes, always good to be here, particularly on Thursdays. This is when you get the heavy hitters, the A-listers, like the people you bump shoulders with, the rub shoulders with. That's when they're here. You're walking around here.
Drew Brees over there, they were asking if we wanted him on the show. I said, no, thanks. we do not harbor that here.
We have one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history over there.
Tanner McKee is here.
Bo completely uninterested in Drew Brees. But if you are a journeyman wide receiver who once was in Eagles training camp, that's who Bo wants. Over there we have Terrell
I got to
Owens.
Bite my tongue here. Okay, go ahead.
Another Hall of Famer. We have Brian Baldinger, one of the great analysts in all football and sports. Chris Long is there doing his show.
You're not really going a long way. So far, you've named a lot of people who have been here all week.
No, well, Drew Brees hasn't been. T.O. hasn't been. Those are literally the first two people
then you
that
said
I mentioned.
Baldy and Chris Long, who are both doing shows from Radio Row.
There's so many. I think there's Chuck Pagano over there.
Wow, Chuck Pagano is here.
Chuck Pagano is here. There's so many people coming through here. We have a great show with people we've spoken to the past few days, people who are coming today, and then tomorrow's show is going to be similarly as strong.
Alex Singleton is here.
Yeah, it's been a fun.
Just so you know, here's the flow of things, okay? Because we are, it's noon back east, but it's 9 a.m. here in Vegas. It doesn't really kick off yet. The middle of the day, it's more like 10 to 2 is when it gets really popping in this vast convention center, and that's when we do our work to get interviews for the next day's show, which is what we did yesterday. Talked to several people who you will hear from on this episode today. Everybody has been wondering, after the escapades of what happened during the show yesterday, did the guys get Torrey Smith? Did Bo get the number right? No. Did he then circle back and make something happen? Yes. Torrey Smith will be coming up in a few minutes. We talked to Donovan McNabb, 5, will always love you. We talked to DeAndre Swift, get a little insight into what might be coming for DeAndre Swift, and we did talk to one of the most impressive lineage in the NFL, of course, the Bo's Camp Crush. We talked to one of those guys. That will be coming up at the end of the show. But Zach, we had a nice dinner last night, a little steak. What are you feeling?
I feel great.
I had dinner with Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas was there.
Nobody's face has aged less than Frank Thomas. Looks the exact same.
Yeah, and just imagine he's walking out and saying, I'm the second best first baseman in this restaurant, right?
Well, I wouldn't call myself a first baseman by trade.
Okay, but you did play first base.
Yeah, but it was never my primary position.
Yeah, well, you were a pitcher, but...
Pitcher and third base. A little bit of left field in college, but I would say third base was my primary position.
Third base, your primary position.
I can play first base. I could probably play it as well as Frank, but that's not what I would call myself.
But yeah, a great time. Great spending time with Julia.
Had a Frank Thomas poster in my room in my grandma's house growing up.
Nice. That's all. And shout out to Jason. Shout out to Jason who stopped by the meetup last night.
Yeah, shout out to Jason at the Overhang Bar at Circa. Had a nice long conversation with our DFOP who lives in Vegas. That was good to see.
Good Vegas
intel. He got to find out what it's like. When I said yesterday, like Zach is who he is, he got the full Zach Berman is interviewing you for a story treatment.
Elaborate on that. What particularly does that mean?
It means there's no such thing as a casual conversation. Everything is pointed questions that are looking for big answers.
I wouldn't frame it like that. Just trying to elevate small talk, right?
Lawrence. Hey, Lawrence. Lawrence, would you say at dinner last night you felt like you were being interviewed by Zach?
Thank you, Lawrence.
No, okay, all right. You thought it was a nice conversation.
You just thought it was a nice conversation, right? Someone who's genuinely interested in genuinely interested in what you have to say, right? Yeah. So
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
So there are two really important qualities to have an enjoyable dinner with somebody. Okay? The first is to be interested. The second is to be interesting. Okay? Everything beyond that, like, is dessert, if you will, right? If you're interested and you're interesting, it's gonna be a nice dinner. Now there's some people
Do you have a saying like that for every social event?
I'm saying there's some people who are interesting, but they're not interested. And then in those cases, it's a one-sided conversation. There's some people who are interested, but they're not interesting. And in that situation, like, you're not providing much, right? So, but if you're interested and you're interesting, it should be a good two-way conversation, or a four-way conversation, or however many people are at the table.
Okay. Now, what would you say are the, like, 6 things you need for a casual hangout at the bar with listeners at the Overhang in Circa? What are the things there? Do you have a mnemonic for that?
No, in that case, I'm curious if you are.
No, I said we don't want Drew Brees. Thank you.
Yeah, he literally said that, by the way. He was like,
no.
He's like, not on my show. Yes. Seriously, every other place is pushing away to get the future Hall of Famer. Not on here. But in any event.
Why don't you tell us about the minor breaking Eagles news we have since we last spoke?
Yeah, so a few minutes ago, Jeremy Fowler from ESPN reports that Brian Johnson, the former Eagles offensive coordinator, is going to Washington in an we don't yet know the title, but in a senior offensive role. We'll be working with Cliff Kingsbury there, but staying in the division. Curious to see who his quarterback is. Also, shout out to Tim McManus. Always give credit where it's due. Last night on my walk back to the hotel, Tim had breaking news. The Eagles are adding Titans inside linebackers coach Bobby King to the Eagles staff. Bobby King had been with the Titans, was with the Chargers, I believe, overlapped with the Chargers overlapped with Nick Sirianni with the Chargers there. So that defensive staff starting to fill out, and we'll see what moves are coming down as well.
And also Roy Eastvon leaving the nest.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he's going to Cleveland to be the assistant offensive line coach there.
Roy Eastvon is respected by those O-linemen. I believe played for Stoutland at Central Connecticut State, if my memory is correct.
And one of the coaches on the roster whose initials are state abbreviation.
Who are the others? You said he's one of.
Yeah. Well,
so presumably,
well, yeah, but
not presumably.
Think about it.
By definition, if you're one of, there are others.
Let me pull up the coaching staff.
Okay. While you do that, let's just continue to paint the picture, because when we're here, these shows are a little different than when we're back at home. At home, we're in the studio. Here, it's like we're in the wild. Your head has to be on a swivel because you see so many people coming through. So I will keep you abreast on the different people. I just saw Alex Singleton walk by.
Well, you had DJ Elliott before he left. DE.
DE. Yep. While you're looking that up, let's.
We've got so much to get to in this, and we just got dead air right now.
Yeah. So how about this? How about you look that up while we give our listeners our first interview?
I think it was just TJ Elliott and Roy Eastvon.
Okay. Our first interview from yesterday, which was a really good one, and that one is.
Do you know?
The first one is DeAndre Swift, right?
No.
No, Donovan McNabb.
No.
Torrey Smith.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The first. I didn't know this is the sequence that.
It's because you weren't listening. You weren't interested when we talked about the rundown before the show.
No, I was prepping for the show. Okay, I was prepping for the show. The first one is Torrey Smith. Bo did a great job tracking him down. Torrey Smith sat where Bo is sitting now. We talked. Well, you'll hear what we talked about. Fun interview. Here you go.
Hello, everybody. We are back on the PHLY Eagles show, joined by Torrey Smith. The people who watched the show yesterday will have known this the saga. We finally got you in the table. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. I mean, we're here. We are an Eagles show at the Super Bowl, and I think when people think of Eagles Super Bowl, thinking about Torrey Smith. What do you do with your ring?
Left at the hotel. This is the time you're supposed to wear your rings.
Yeah, flash that thing off.
I had my rings, and then I put lotion on my hand before I walked out the door. I left it. I hope it's there. It wouldn't fall on my hand and
that's
dry
a big
over.
that's a big tip for.
When I leave here, the first thing I'm doing is going to my hotel room to make sure my rings are
It's
there.
all of a sudden it's on eBay next to Zach Stanley water bottle. Who knows?
So you have 2 Super Bowls,
Yep.
okay? Which one, when like in terms of word association, when I say Super Bowl, is it the Eagles one that comes to mind or the Ravens one that comes to mind?
For sure, the first one with the Ravens, but and I'm gonna get my disclaimer. This is not a political answer.
Yeah, okay.
This is not a political answer. So the first time when I was in Baltimore, we lost in the AFC Championship game
Yep.
my rookie year. Second year we go back, we win the Super Bowl. But that season, my brother had passed away. My family, we have never been on a family vacation or anything like that, so I had all of them down there in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. It was a good experience for my family. Celebrate with them on the field afterwards. Fast forward to Philly, coming from San Fran, tough couple of years. We win in Philly, and then I'm celebrating. I have 2 kids. So, like, it's just two different perspectives
stages of life. Yeah. 2
different stages of life. One being young and, one being a little bit older and having those kids there. So I appreciate them both in a different way.
From the Eagles Super Bowl, when you think of the game itself, what is like the most vivid memory you have?
Oh, man. So many, man. I could go from – I had a helmet catch. I've never had that before.
Yeah.
I remember Foles' throw to the back of the end zone to Corey.
What
Man, that was
catch,
a dime. I was like, man, that was crazy. And then I had the best seat in the house on Philly Special. So
that's right.
That was for sure the moment to remember from that game.
And I know you've been asked about that play a million times, but like when the call comes in and you hear Nick say this is what it is, are you like,
here it is. It's about to happen. You know what I mean? It's like it was crazy.
Don't flinch.
I'm like, man, y'all serious? Like, it's 4th. All right, let's go. Like, I'm like, all right, coach playing to win. Let's go. But I think for it to work out the way it did, I mean, that's obviously a legendary play in NFL history. It's pretty cool.
In your mind, what's the most important play from that game? Because I can jog your memory with a few, but I'm curious, without doing that, which one jumps to mind?
I mean, I think that Philly Special and Ertz 4th down conversion.
I was going to say that 4th and 2.
Ertz 4th down conversion is probably the play that people forget about,
Exactly.
but doesn't happen without that.
So as you have watched from afar, I know you're keeping tabs on what's going on in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Like without being in the locker room, but knowing guys who were there, what do you make of the way things just sort of collapsed down the end of the stretch?
Yeah, I just think sometimes, like, everyone looks for a reason, and sometimes you just don't play good, right?
Yeah.
It's about being consistent, and I think even though they were winning, they were never really consistent overall. And so in comparison to the year before when they were very dominant, they were consistent. You could count on this one thing looking the same way basically every week, right? Not the guys aren't perfect, but the defense is going to be rock solid every single. The offense, this is going to be the identity every single week, and I think it just never really came to life. And they were winning tough games. The year before, they were just stomping on people, right? And I think the margin between winning and losing in the league is always just a few plays. But they came out on again last year on that a lot more often than this year. So I never really panicked. Even then, I was still anticipating them to get it together during the playoffs because when we were in Baltimore, the year we won the Super Bowl, you only mentioned the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
We started off 8-2 or 7, whatever it was, and then we finished our season 10-6. Like, we were the team that folks were like, what are they doing? They just had a meltdown. And we ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's possible. The biggest thing is to give yourself a chance by getting in, and you want to be playing your best ball late. And we didn't do that in Baltimore, and we were able to get it done. So I was like, based on their leadership, I really felt like they stood a chance at getting it done. But obviously, it did not come to life.
But go ahead.
And I was going to say that year, Eagles fans kind of looked at that. You guys fired Jim Caldwell, or I'm sorry, you fired your OC and promoted Jim Caldwell. The Eagles were hoping that's what happened with their defensive coordinator this past year. It did not work out that way. But the season for Philly turned when Dom DeSandro got ejected.
Yeah,
and,
man.
We have Fletcher Cox on the show every week, and Fletcher gave us his best Dom DeSandro story. I'm curious from your perspective, what's the best Dom DeSandro story you can share with us?
Man, I don't really have a one type of story from him, but Dom's the guy that, like, he knows every daggone body. Mm-hmm. Like, if I ever have a problem in any if I needed a plumber or if I needed anything in the world, I can call Dom. Like, he knows everyone in Philadelphia, and, like, his personality, he's infectious. I think he's just as much a part of that organization's culture as the coaches, right? Like, he's the therapist for so many guys on that team to help hold them together. So I think Dom, I love him to death, right? Even only being there that 1 year, I view him like a big brother to me, you know, somebody that, you know, I know I can count on for sure. But I think what he means to that locker room, I don't think people really understand it. You just view him as a security guy, but in my eyes, he is way much more than that. And in the organization's eyes, he's way bigger than that.
You talk about the coaches and how much Dom means, but I'm curious, as the Eagles have made this turnover on the staff, you know, bringing in a new defensive coordinator, bringing in a new offensive coordinator, changing some of the position coaches, if you're a player in the building when that's happening, are you like texting with your buddies, like, oh, you see who they brought in? Like, what's your level of interest? And it's like,
you become a little fanboy.
You're reaching out to guys
point.
Who know them, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. How was this guy? Right. It's like anybody. Who are the new people?
And what do you make of like how it's going to go with Nick Sirianni now, sort of having his wings clipped a little bit, not being in charge of the offense? What do you think the response from the players will be to that?
I mean, the response for the players is always going to be the same, right? Whether Coach Sirianni's there or Coach Torrey Smith is their coach. They're trying to get paid, okay?
Yeah.
They want to win, and they're trying to get paid, so they're going to perform.
Better?
Right. That's the thing. Do they respect you enough to get them to get better? And if that's the case, then absolutely you're going to be fine, right? And for this team, I think they've proven that they can be those guys, right? They played at the highest level. They were just there. Like, we're acting like this is y'all, I played on 2 sorry San Francisco teams. We were sorry, right? We, in Philadelphia, are complaining about a team that was arguably the best team in the middle of the season. So it's like, it's still right there. It's like, I think it's just more so fine-tuning and being consistent. So, yes, the roster's probably going to change a little bit as well with coaches changes. Now it's about seeing how you build in with this new culture, because you're going to be hearing a different voice, but at least the same leader is still there to kind of help set the tone. So, I mean, I'm excited for the change for him. I mean, you have no choice but to be excited for it, right? Had they brought him back, can you imagine y'all two right now on air?
Yeah.
Right? Like, they had to do it because of y'all, right? Now, I'm just saying.
That's exactly
right. But, like, all jokes aside, like, when it comes to the fan base, and I think Mr. Laurie has done a good job of kind of reading the room, it's like sometimes even if the same coaching staff would have got it together and had a better year, sometimes you have to make change to speed that progress up a little bit to keep from outside noise being a distraction. Because the minute you lose doubt of the people that are leading you in the locker room, and sometimes that's poured in from outside sources, right? You have real problems. And I think having a fresh start was probably what's best for kind of everyone there, and I'm glad they kept Coach Sirianni because he's done a pretty good job.
Last one from me. You said only 1 year in Philly with the Eagles, but you have family in the area. We see you around a lot. What's the role of Philly in your life?
Oh man, I love it, man. I'm up there all the time. Like I said, my folks, my in-laws are from Conshohocken, so before I was in the Eagle, I was in that area, and I have a bunch of kids on my 7-on-7 team in level 82 that are from North Philly and then out west. So we got kids at LaSalle, got kids from Germantown High School. So some of the better kids in the area come down with us. So I'm up there heavily committed, and you know, again, I love it there. And I love the people there too. The people have always been great to me. My favorite thing about the people in Philadelphia is that I played there, did not play there for my first 6 years in the league. Used to go to the same restaurants, same everything, all of these years. Folks barely said a word to me. Then when I signed to the Eagles, the next day it's like, hey, I'm like, dang, did y'all hate me because I didn't play here or what? But it's always really cool, man, to come back and honestly to see something little that stands out is seeing, like, when you walk into the stores or the different delis or get a cheesesteak from somewhere, like that Super Bowl sticker is in every kind of space around. So it's like a good little memory to know what it meant to the people in that city.
Well, Torrey, thank you so much for taking the time. I would say one of the most impactful one-year Eagles careers. We really appreciate that. Back with more on PHLY, the Eagles Show. All right, we are back on Radio Row, and a very pleasant surprise as we're walking around. I mean, Zach over here is like, nobody loves Philly football players more than Zach. And you got the Syracuse connection. We got Zier Franklin.
And it's a Z as well. It's like the three
and
things.
And a Z. Yeah. Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing today?
We're doing very well. Let's talk Philly football, because that's what Zach wants to do. You want to start with your top 5 question?
Yeah. So I've been brainstorming top 5 Philly players in the NFL. What's your ranking?
In your mind, are you doing current or?
Yeah, let's do active players. So active players. And it has to be their NFL performance. So it can't like for instance, if we were doing this a few years ago, Sharif Floyd was outstanding in high school,
I love Sharif,
but didn't have the same NFL career.
He did.
Right?
He had an injury, and that just knocked it off. But
fair
I'm
enough.
I'm with you, though.
Thank you for protecting him. That's good.
No, for sure. So not in any order, because I got to think about what I got to go Pitts.
Yes.
For sure.
And in your mind, are you sticking to just the city?
Yes, Philadelphia. You have to be in Philadelphia. I have to know that you're from Philly.
You went to high school at LaSalle, though. That's not in Philly per se.
But I'm from North Philly.
Okay, fair enough. So
it's
where you're from as opposed to where you go to high school.
Yeah, because Pitts is from Philly, but he went to Archbishop Wood, which is in
Warminster.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say
I feel like I need to step back so you guys can have this conversation.
Pitts, probably DeAndre Swift for sure. Philly boys.
Want me to give you some?
Yourself?
Christian Barmore?
Oh, I love Barrymore. Yeah. Shout out to Christian for sure. How I'm blanking on. I know Nunu's from Philly. I feel like I'm missing somebody.
I just saw DJ Moore come through.
Oh yeah, for sure, DJ Moore. For sure, DJ Moore.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm blanking like this on Philly guys though. I'm always sharp on. Obviously we got one coming in, and Marvin Harrison.
Yes.
I asked Swift this yesterday. Who is, when you were in high school, who was the best guy you played against?
The best guy that I played against in high school? I'm gonna be honest. It probably was his teammate Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yes.
We played him in a championship game. He took a punt back, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. We ended up beating him in overtime, but he scored all 8 points in the championship game. Olamide Zaccheaus was ridiculous at St. Joe's Prep, so shout out to him.
So tell us about getting nominated for Walter Payton Man of the Year. How much pride do you take in getting that kind of recognition? Man, it just means a lot. Obviously just thankful, that I was able to be in this position, but, it's really just a combination of a lot of hard work, a lot of work that I've done in Philly, Indianapolis, just trying to help out the kids and give them opportunities that I didn't have. And you got your own podcast as well? Oh, yeah. Shout out to the Trenches, for sure. Trenches Podcast, partner with Joe Button and JBP. Okay. We got our thing going on. New episode dropping on Friday with T.Y. It's going to be a little spicy. It's going to ruffle the feathers of a lot of Colts fans out there. Okay.
Ooh, that's a good tease right there.
Yeah, that's a great tease. The problem is, you guys, like football players starting their own podcast is so great because it's giving the real perspective, right, that you wouldn't get from our side. But you guys are way better at podcasting than we are at playing football. It's not
Speak
fair.
for yourself, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a little transitive, but I guess it is, but it ain't. Some people do get on pods and just pretty much use it to talk about themselves, which I can't be mad at. You make your own platform, do your own thing. But I know you got to get going in a minute. But I do want to ask you about. It must have been such a weird thing for you, and I know you've talked about it. That day in Philly.
Yes.
You and Jason Kelce in training camp. That little, that I wouldn't say little. That was like I've never seen anything like it. You being home and that happening. That must have been such a weird experience for you. Why would it be weird for me? I don't know. You tell me. You're going up against the hometown team, and all of a sudden, there's all this drama. Or you think that's overblown? Nah, I'm gonna just say I'm glad my brothers wasn't there because they probably would have jumped the fence. they had just so happily missed it, but I was comfortable. I've been playing in Philly my whole life, so he just renting, I own it. So
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah. I appreciate it because we're at every training camp practice, and you made it interesting for us, right? Like how many times do we need to see 7-on-7s? You spiced it up, right? I love joint practice. I got to stop, man. I get in a huge fight every year. One of my best friends told me, they said every year I get in a huge fight, I have a great year, though. So he said,
whoever we join practice with
Watch
this year,
out, whoever you're playing next year now.
Start sideline clearing ball. No,
So real quick, Kerry Williams, when he used to play for the Eagles, he got in a fight with the Patriots before practice, and the cool thing for him was he got to get kicked out of practice, so he didn't have to do the practice. It was a hot day, and it's like a veteran trick. If you want the day off, get in a fight early in practice.
Well, no, yes and no. I mean, the fines and all the other stuff that come with it too,
okay.
and it's a little. Honestly, I feel like joint practice to me, outside of like the fisticuffs that come with it, but I feel like it's the best chance to really compete and compare yourself against guys, across the league. Like I was just really looking forward to. Obviously, we had 2 joint practices this year, one against Chicago, one against Philly, and like they say, iron sharpen iron. That's the best chance you get to truly compete, one-on-one, because you can play in a game and not really have a chance to really evaluate yourself against another great player. So playing against, DeAndre Swift, playing against DJ Moore, playing against Justin Fields, playing against Jalen Hurts, it was like a true good chance to really compete and work on your craft going into the season. Because in joint practice, you could run your schemes, you could run your plays, because that film's not going anywhere. When you're playing these preseason games, y'all playing cover 1, cover 2, cover 3. Y'all ain't doing nothing special. It's actually harder to play in preseason games because they take all your checks and everything that you actually practice out. You actually playing the defense that you never played.
That's interesting.
in preseason games. So I appreciate joint practices a lot. I think it's honestly the best chance to get better.
And last thing before you go, sorry, Shane Steichen, Eagles fans very familiar with him. We're happy with Shane moving forward. Good guy.
Yeah. No, Shane's the man. I know Philly fans is hating. I know they miss him. But he's ours now.
One quick 10-second question. You're back in Philly for 24 hours. Where are you eating?
Ooh, I just went to Budokan. Oh, my
Okay.
God. You ever been to Budokan?
Yes,
Oh, my God. That calamari salad. Yo, Budokan is elite. Or Steak 48 for sure.
There
you go. Good advice from Zier Franklin. Let's talk now to another Philly football player. DeAndre Swift joined us yesterday. Let's watch that now.
Yes, sir.
Good luck on Sunday.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Radio Row. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, joined now by the man himself, DeAndre Swift. DeAndre, how you doing? Welcome to the Super Bowl.
I'm good. How you doing? Thank you for having
I'm
me.
doing good. You just got here, and you are here because you got a big game tonight, a big tournament. Tell us about the Battle of the Paddles
Yes, sir.
that you were doing.
I'm excited for the night. Representing Todd in the PNG Battle of the Paddles. Get to play a little bit of ping pong tonight.
How's your game?
It's okay. It's good. I've been playing for about 2 years now. Started in the locker room. Yeah.
You
I'm
know, it's
okay.
in the locker room.
Right.
Jake Elliott is like the top of the totem pole, right? Who else is in the mix?
On the team, Terrell Edmonds was pretty good before he got traded. I know Kenny Gainwell, solid. Mostly all the old linemen.
Yeah, you know, Isaac Sayamalo used to be good, but he left. I know Noah Tongiai plays a lot, the tight end, but I'm excited to see what you got. You got like Trevor Lawrence, anybody you're looking to play against? Saquon Barkley?
I just saw the lineup, Jamal Williams going to be there looking to.
A lot of running backs.
I beat him before, so I want to play him again.
Okay.
I want to see what Saquon got. Looking forward to seeing what they got.
All right. Now, Zach here has been, pounding the DeAndre Swift drum for a long time. He loves Philly guys. We know you're from right over there, from all the way over in Philly. How did this season go for you, being the hometown guy?
It was a blessing, man. Just be able to play for your hometown where you grew up at. That opportunity doesn't present itself very often. So to be able to go in that locker room with them type of guys and that organization, be able to compete week in and week out and build relationships, and it was a year to remember for me, man. Just wish we could have kept it going. Wish I wasn't here right now on this radio station. You know what I mean? But it was a good year.
I spoke to you a few weeks ago about what you proved this year. And one thing you mentioned was playing every game was significant to you. Why was that significant to you? And obviously going into free agency, what do you think you showed the rest of the league about yourself?
First and foremost, I think I still got a lot to show. But playing in every single game this year, I knew there was a lot of questions going into this year as far as injuries and things like that, things that I've dealt with in my career in Detroit, missing a couple games at a time. But I know that was a little notch on my name. So even playing every single game was one of my goals this year. So I know when I'm available, sky's the limit.
What is your opinion on running back valuation in free agency? Like the fact that for whatever reason you guys do not get paid probably what you deserve to get paid as you enter free agency.
Like I said, for whatever reason, it is the way it is right now. It's sad, I would say, to not see the guys get what I think they deserve for what we get asked to do. We get asked to do a lot, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like it is what it is. I don't really know what to say on it, give my opinion on it. I can give my opinion on it, but it's not really going to change.
You feel like you've got a lot left?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I feel like I'm just getting started.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Training camp, most of the questions were about you catching the ball.
Yeah.
And then you go on, you have your first 1,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah.
What do you think you showed as a runner? And then how much more is there in your game than the way you were used this year?
I feel like there's a lot more in my game. A lot more in my game that I can showcase. But I feel like I showed a different element of my game this year, being able to do whatever I'm asked to do. And that was kind of my mindset going into it. Not being used so much in the pass game or whatever. Try to affect the game in different ways, in any way I'm asked to do. And I feel like I can do whatever I am asked to do.
I do think that, I'm not going to make you answer for why the team, lost so many games at the end of the season and how all that stuff could happen. But I do feel like as good as you were as a runner, you as a receiver out of the backfield was a thing that was probably underutilized in the offense this year. You don't need to throw anybody under the bus, but did you feel like you could have been used a little bit more in that capacity?
Like I said, I'm the type of guy that whatever I'm getting asked to do, I'm going to make that my thing throughout the whole year. Yes, I could have been used a little bit more in the pass game, but I don't call the plays.
Right.
So whatever I'm asked to do, I'm going to try to master that. And try to affect the game in that way.
Now
go ahead.
And now you're drafted in the second round. You were traded, but you haven't yet experienced free agency. So you've experienced every side of the business part of the NFL except free agency. What are these next few months like for you, trying to figure out where you're going? Or I shouldn't say where you're going next, if you'll stay or if you go somewhere else.
Just a waiting game, from my understanding. Like, it's my first time in this position. So I'm kind of learning how, as the days go by, just waiting. Focus on what I can focus on, control what I can control. That's training, making sure I'm taking the right rest time, just making sure I'm ready for whatever call happens and go from there.
Important off-the-field question for you. I need your reaction because we talked to Devontae Smith last week, and we know that he is like the best-dressed guy on the team. But we asked him, who is the second best-dressed guy on the team? He said you.
Man, I appreciate that, Smitty. That mean a lot. That mean a lot. I would say I'm first, but no, I appreciate that. We got a couple guys on the team that know what they're doing.
And now his explanation was that you're more of a street clothes guy. He's more of a suit guy.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate assessment?
100%. I'm kind of more chill. He definitely give a lot of suits, a lot of good suits.
And now speaking of power rankings, okay, Bo made the joke earlier that I have an affinity for players from Philly, people who I watched when they were growing up or I was older watching them in high school. We spoke to Matt Ryan yesterday. We always kind of point out different players from Philadelphia who get drafted or signed. What's your top 5 Philly area football players?
From Philly or played in Philly?
From Philly. From Philly. Or from the, let's say, Philly area. So South Jersey is included, Philly suburbs are included.
Okay. Not including myself?
You can include yourself in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw me in there. No order, though. I'm gonna throw me in there. Matt Ryan. I'm gonna go Micah. He's from the PA area.
Okay.
Michael Parsons.
Stretching it to Harrisburg, but that's fine.
That's too far?
Yeah,
okay.
That's okay. We'll count that. We'll count that.
Who else?
You got Kyle Pitts in there.
Kyle Pitts for sure. Then I'm gonna go.
Hassan
from South Jersey.
From Camden. That's my 5 right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my 5 right there.
No Zach Berman.
I'm going guys that I personally know.
Who was the best player you played against in high school?
Ooh, played a lot of good people in high school. Let me think. DeMar Hamlin was good in high school. DeMar Hamlin, he's real good now, but DeMar Hamlin played with Pittsburgh Central Catholic. We always kind of ran into each other later on in the state championship run. DeMar Hamlin was real good in high school.
Okay, now, I mean, I guess the last thing is, like, you think we're going to be seeing you in an Eagles uniform next season? Put you on the spot.
Only time would tell. I would love to be an Eagle again. I would love to.
So my last one, anyone who follows Philly high school football remembers your announcement video, okay, when you're going to Georgia. Are you going to have an announcement video this year when you decide to sign as a free agent?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That was a good video.
No, it was. Bleacher Report did a great job with that video. Great job. I feel like them times is over.
You know what? There is one other thing I got to ask you about. We talked to Malik Herring on Media Night, and he was telling us the story of you doing, like, donuts in the courtyard on the fell over or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was.
You want to set the record straight there?
Yeah. It was like a little, not a little motorcycle, a little moped. And we was outside in the outside our our little apartments or whatever. I was just doing donuts, ended up taking a little bad fall.
That's all right.
Yeah.
You bounce back.
Get back up, try again.
There you go. All right, well, DeAndre, good luck tonight. The Battle of the Paddles with P&G. You can watch it on their YouTube channel at 8 o'clock tonight on Overtime. So good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Keep the backhand strong.
I'm working on that.
There you
Gotcha.
go. All right, back with more here on PHLY. All right, our Philly episode rolls on as we talk now about our most Philly sponsor, and that is Philly Sports Trips. It's got Philly in the name. We've had a great week here at the Super Bowl, and you can have a great week as well, or maybe even longer, because you can go down to Clearwater with Philly Sports Trips for our very first PHLY spring training takeover. Hang with Philly's legend Charlie Emanuel. Philly Sports Trip plans out the whole experience from flights and hotels to game tickets and transportation. You can spend St. Patrick's Day on a private yacht with a catered dinner and drinks. You can live the way that Zach Berman lives. Be on the lookout for more events throughout the year with Philly Sports Trips, plus the Super Bowl party for the fans out here in Vegas. True Fan Travel will be hosting their own tailgate at Daylight Beach Club. Visit truefan.travel for more information. The trip for spring training is March 13th to 18th, so don't wait to book. Head to allphly.com/events to learn more and book your trip and have the wonderful opportunity to see Jamie Lynch's legs in those shorts in person. Nothing better.
So I enjoy being on the road, but the one downside is I'm not eating healthy. And so when I get back home, I need to start eating healthier. And where do I do that? With Factor meal kits. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. There's over 35 different options a week. There's one for Bo, one for Julia, one for Andrew. I can keep going around the room. You have keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrient-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. No prep, no mess. Factor meals are 100% ready to heat and eat, so there's no prepping, cooking, or cleanup needed. Head to factormeals.com/Eagles50 and use code Eagles50 to get 50% off. That's code Eagles50 at factormeals.com/Eagles50 to get 50% off. And once again, we are here on Super Bowl Radio Row for the PHLY Eagles Show presented by Factor Meal Kits. You can head to factormeals.com/Eagles50 and use code Eagles50 to get 50% off.
So what's your top five Philly Eagles players?
That's so hard.
I mean, Philly football players.
Yeah, Philly football players. Active. That's hard. And my definition, by the way, is different than Zier Franklin's. You don't have to live within the city limits or go to school within the city limits. And I say it this way because I used to do this type of thing every draft for the Philadelphia Inquirer. So we included the Philadelphia Inquirer's coverage area. So that included South Jersey. That included the Philadelphia suburbs, but it didn't go as far as like Harrisburg. It didn't go down to Delaware. It didn't go like deep into
Martin
New Jersey.
Frank territory.
Yeah, so I include the Inquirer coverage base, and I could give you like the exact counties, and we don't have to do
you
that.
think you could take us through your starting from the day that you joined the Eagles beat? Mm-hmm. Give me the all 22. Can you go? Could you fill out a full roster of Philly guys?
Ooh, I mean, if you gave me a few minutes here,
who's the best Philly quarterback of your time?
Well, either Matt Ryan or Joe Flacco. Let's go with Matt Ryan.
I think you got to go Matt Ryan.
Okay, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan won an MVP. So let's go Matt Ryan. Running back, you got DeAndre Swift, but you also have Jonathan Taylor. I would probably go Jonathan Taylor there.
I mean, DeAndre Swift is nice enough to spend 10 minutes with us. Well, by the way, DeAndre Swift, we talked about his the Battle of the Paddles. You can watch that. You can watch that whole event on the Overtime YouTube page. See how he did last night. See how he fared. I believe he did not win, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it. I think it came down in the end to Trent Taylor and Dustin Hopkins.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Oh, Dustin Hopkins. Okay, I think
those are the finalists.
Yeah, nice. That's a good group. So I'm going to go with 2 running backs. I'm going to go Swift and Taylor. Okay. My wide receivers.
You love that 22 personnel, the 21 personnel.
Yeah, well, we're going to go 1 tight end. Let's go Kyle Pitts at tight end, of course. Let's go with at wide receiver, DJ Moore and Will Fuller. Okay.
I think you can already make it Marvin Harrison Jr.
I can. Okay, even though he's not. Okay, let's go Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore. Will Fuller does not make the cut, although always enjoyed talking to Will Fuller. Always enjoyed talking to Jalen Strong. That's probably a better example than Shree Floyd. Jalen Strong was a really good college player and high school player. Did not necessarily.
Here's the tough one though. Can you get an offensive line?
We can go Mike McGlinchey. We can go Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. The rest of the offensive line, you can go
Justin Pugh.
You can go Justin Pugh. You can go Ryan Bates at center. But you know, you can. I would really need to.
Where's Deion Dawkins from?
Oh yeah, we can include Deion. There's a good one, Deion Dawkins.
Okay.
So let's keep rolling here. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. You got Hassan Reddick. Sean Phillips was a good one. He was an edge rusher for the Broncos. You go Christian Barmore. You go with Zier Tart at defensive tackle, like that. Linebacker, there's Zier Franklin. Kevin Byard at safety. I really need to. Chuck Clark at safety. There's one. So I need to think of my corners, but that's a pretty good team right there.
You work on that.
Yeah, I'll work on that. That's a pretty good team. What did you think of the Swift interview?
I thought it was interesting. You know what? I like that he's not willing to. He's not like going to shy away from the fact that they could have used him more out of the backfield, and I still think that's one of the big things that was missing from the offense. In addition to like the, absence of motion and not being able to beat the blitz, structurally that was a thing that should have been there all along. Do you think he's back?
I don't. I think the Eagles are going to continue to go inexpensive at that position, but I think Swift.
1 second. No, Drew Brees, no.
I think Swift's.
We don't want him.
I think Swift's worthy of a contract. I think Swift's a really good player, and I think it would benefit the Eagles if they re-signed him. I just don't know where they're going to allocate money. I think if he came back, it's on a deal that's more conducive to the Eagles than more conducive to Swift.
All right. Well, we have, I believe, Kalen Kaler, who's going to join us in a few minutes. But before we get that, we said no Drew Brees, but that doesn't mean no great quarterbacks of the 2000s coming on the PHLY Eagles show. As longtime listeners will appreciate, let's just toss to this with one word and one word only. 5! You never know who you're going to run into at Super Bowl Media Row, and we have Donovan McNabb here. Donovan, first of all, how are you? How's everything going?
Doing outstanding. Everything is good. Just enjoying the festivities, so to speak. Do my podcast and then see some old familiar faces as I walk around here. But now that I'm ready to go and work out and get something to eat.
All right, well, we will keep it quick. I do want to ask you about Jalen Hurts. Yeah. We were there in the locker room after the regular season game in Arizona last year between the Eagles and the Cardinals, and you came in and you and Jalen had a bit of a conversation. I think it's probably fair to say that nobody in the world understands what Jalen Hurts is going through right now more than you do in terms of the media coverage. I think you know the answer to that. So from your vantage point, what is like the most important thing for him this offseason?
Well, just clear his head. I think for all of us who kind of go through seasons where you hide and seasons where it kind of dumps and you're just kind of preparing yourself. I think for Jalen, the thing that I try to talk to him with is just kind of stay in the moment. Stay in the moment, understand what has led you to this point, what you can clean up, and get back to your preparation. And so for him, he's like me. Just kind of put your nose on the ground and grind. And his offseason will consist of getting his body together, getting in shape, make sure he's ready and ready to throw and ready to learn. But the thing that's different this year is he's got to learn a new offense. And so he's learning an offense that Kellen Moore has had with Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. And so now the comparisons are going to come with those two particular guys for him. And it's not going to be so much of what it's been before. So he understands that, I think, now. And, if they don't have a good season this year, then I mean, other heads are going to start to roll over there in Philly.
And obviously, your time in Philadelphia was with Andy Reid. The
Right.
offense never really changed
Right.
that much. We sort of talked about last season, it was Jalen's first year getting to play in the same offense for the second time since he was in high school, and they went to the Super Bowl. Now he's going to change it again. How difficult do you feel like that will be for him?
It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult, and I think a lot of people aren't going to understand it. They're just going to wait for the result. And so it takes time and patience. And for, Jalen, it's really, you look at it because it's comparable to what Kellen Moore had in Dallas. Only thing is, now is he going to run the ball more? Because that was the whole thing why Mike McCarthy took over in Dallas, because he wanted to establish the run more. And so that was the whole thing that kind of faltered a little bit in Philly toward the end, was they kind of almost abandoned the run as much. When you got a running back that's got over 1,000 yards rushing. Like DeAndre Swift had his best year in his career.
Right.
And he was healthy enough where he can get out there and compete. So I think for Kellen Moore, that's something that he's going to have to take on, because this ain't Dallas and this ain't California.
If you think about Andy Reid, 25 years ago last month he was hired.
Yeah.
25 years ago in April you were drafted.
See how loose he said that? I knew it, but yeah.
And I ask that because you look at the past 25 years of Eagles history, it doesn't look like the 25 years before that. The infrastructure that kind of you and Andy put in place 25 years ago, how much do you think that played a part in what's happened during this quarter century?
Oh, it was a major help for him to understand how to retool, how to improve, and things to eliminate. And so it's funny because we talk about it all the time, he and I, and it's just kind of like, he's like, the only reason that this has been successful here is because of what we've done in Philly. And I go, well, what do you mean? He's like, what did I start with? It's like, started with a quarterback. Then what did I go with? Offensive line, D-line. What was kind of the options after that? It was like skill position guys. And he's like, the things that we weren't able to complete, I understood what I did wrong, and I'm doing it here. And I'm like, well, that helps me out, like,
Yeah.
But again, I could have aided more in that. But that's what Patrick has understood. And Patrick only knows one way because Patrick has only been with Andy. And so I knew one way because I was just with Andy. So our methodical approach was very similar, changed every now and then, but it was very similar. And so that's why he's been very successful. That's why Patrick has been very successful. That's why the organization has been mentioned. And it's funny because you talk 25 years, we were probably second or third behind New England or maybe Indy as far as a winning percentage and the success rate that we had in over a decade. Here, it's been the same almost, but he's been number one. And so New England at that particular, well, it's funny because Tom was there for so long, but New England still, but then he's now moved to the number one spot in the success that he's had with the Kansas City Chiefs.
You got to get going, so one very last one for you. How weird is it? We're all sort of trying to figure out how healthy Jalen Hurts is when you are the guy and it's your body that everybody is talking about.
Well, I mean, that happens with me being such a sex symbol. Everyone talks about my body.
Thank you so much, Donovan McNabb.
But you know what? It's what else can they talk about?
Yeah.
And I do Philly radio every Monday or Tuesday if they play Monday night. And I get tired of the questions of, well, do you think that, his leadership qualities of not being vocal? And I'm like, you didn't say nothing about him the last couple of years. Why are you talking about his leadership? Everyone talking about how great of a leader he was. Well, do you think that he's not telling us how hurt he is? What player tells you how hurt he is? And so it's either you're hurt or you're injured. And we're always going to be banged up. But, we're not going to take ourselves out. And I think that's where Jalen was. Yeah, he was banged up a little bit, but he was healthy enough to play. It just didn't come to the result that he wanted. And this year be a little bit different.
Donovan McNabb, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, we're back on Radio Row. Kaylin Kaler is here. She has her food. She's debating whether or not she's going to eat while I read these ads. But it's actually a very thematically appropriate ad read that I have here now, Kaylin, because we're talking Bagels & Co., which are Brooklyn-style bagels made in Philly. And these are huge bagels. We're talking the biggest in Philly. They've got such a large variety, 15 to 20 different types to choose from daily. We're talking seasonal bagels. For instance, They're going to have a Valentine's Day bagel. What could be more romantic than bringing your sweetheart a Valentine's Day bagel on the morning of February 14th? They've also got a large cream cheese variety and schmears, and you know they are all about those affordable prices. This is a blue-collar bagel, people. So, for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, but, you know, we're in Las Vegas, but you know where we're from. Head to www.thebagelsandco.com/store-locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you.
I'm walking through Mandalay Bay earlier, and I see the beach club, and I'm thinking that's the perfect place for a pregame tailgate. Well, let me tell you something. True Fan Travel will be throwing their own tailgate party on Sunday in Vegas for the big game. And if you are a PHLY listener in Vegas for the week and are looking for an awesome experience to watch the game, True Fan Travel will be hosting a tailgate and watch party at Daylight Beach Club at Mandalay Bay within walking distance of Allegiant Stadium. This is the best place to be before and during the big game on Sunday. 5-hour premium open bar, all-inclusive package, fan-favorite food options, private restrooms, outdoor heaters, DJ entertainment from 2 to 3:30. A great location, a short walk from the stadium with surprise guests to be announced, kind of like our show. Reserve your spot now to the all-inclusive VIP tailgate and watch party, or and there's an option for private cabanas available. You must be 21 or older, but head to truefan.travel/trip/Super Bowl 2024 to learn more.
All right, Kaylin, you ready?
Yeah.
You're good?
I just swallowed.
Okay, good job. So, Kaylin Kaler of The Athletic, our former colleague, one of the true capital J journos covering the NFL.
Stop.
And I think more importantly for our perspective, Queen of the Tush Push.
Queen of the Tush Push. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping well at night because the last possible, what might have been the last, we've talked about this, what might have been the last Tush Push with Jason Kelce was a failure. And that doesn't sit well with me. Doesn't sit well with me. I can't go into the off season with that, looming over me. Like, that's terrible. And if he
looming
retires,
over his career,
yeah, I mean,
I think that maybe that'll be what brings him back.
it might be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because he's really
Where are you at
serious about
turkey-wise, Zach, right now on Jason Kelce retiring versus not retiring?
that. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I'm at like 51 to 49.
Really?
With him retiring, but just because like everything that you hear or that we heard after the season is that he's not coming back, but he hasn't announced it. And
I kind of think he might come back.
And he is deliberate. That's why. Well, I made it a coin flip.
Well, yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
what? So Schefter's report, like
Yeah, not a good report.
that was kind of rude.
well,
What do you mean, come on? That's not, it wasn't, there was no news to it. It wasn't.
Yeah. What was his exact
his
phrasing?
report was that he told
said, like,
teammates
he told
after he
teammates?
told the teammates after the game that he was going to, that it was his last game. Okay.
Okay.
Now, in the
I mean,
emotion,
that could be true.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
In the emotion of the moment,
Right.
that is the case. Now, it's phrased in such a way that doesn't, like, it was kind of taken to mean like that's his retirement announcement.
Yeah, but he knows that that's how it's going to be taken.
Right.
Okay. But I'm saying, but like,
And he
factually,
didn't.
You
Schefter
don't get to
didn't
have
say,
it both ways, I don't think. You don't get to half report something.
And he also didn't say according to, like, there was no
Right.
source.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. It was just like teammate. It said he told.
You think he's got
teammates.
every locker room bugged?
He might at
Yeah.
this point. Like, I feel like it probably came from like an agent,
A general manager?
like or I don't know. Yeah.
maybe it came from teammates.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so that's interesting. That's interesting that you're like that close on the split. Like you really think it could go
I think
either
it's
way.
very much up in the air.
I'll say in the locker room after the game, that was the prevailing sentiment.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I didn't report it as like told teammates, but teammates were talking after the game as if like this is Jason Kelce's last game. Like, I mean, I could recount my entire conversation with Lane Johnson after the game, and it was like, it's a shame that Jason goes out like this, right? So it's like, I imagine the sentiment you have when you just lose a playoff game and he's hugging Stoutland, because I can believe he did not know yet, or he does not know yet. Like, he needs a clear
In
mind
his
to make that
process,
decision.
he wants to give it time.
Yeah. And in case that is his last game, he's savoring that moment with his teammates, with Jeff Stoutland. So we'll see. I was in that post-game locker room with Bo after the New Orleans game in January 2019. So you're thinking 5 years ago, and he was asked then, like, are you going to retire?
Yeah. Right.
Every year this goes on, and every year he does the same thing. And not to take away from, like, any reporters or whatnot, but he's always asked in these interviews, like, so are you going to retire? And I always think he's, you know, he hasn't announced it yet, but he's waiting for your show to say, I am done, right? Like Jason's going to be when deliberate with how he announces
he has lots of ways of reaching the public when he wants to make an announcement. When he wants you to know, you'll know.
Exactly.
And I feel like it'll be interesting, like, if he's hearing from networks right now. Because don't you think he would be kind of in high demand of, like, someone they'd want?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. I've spoken to network executives about this. Yeah,
is he here
flex.
this week? Do you guys know?
Yes, he's here this week. Yeah.
Wow. Has he walked through here yet?
He taped his show the other day with Travis that came out today. He was playing blackjack last. He was at U2 last night.
Did he tape it in Radio Row?
No. They had a separate
they had to
place.
Do a separate secret location this time.
Yes.
Last year they were like on Radio Row.
Yeah.
They are too famous for that now.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Because
and Travis showed up like an hour late last year. It was hilarious.
I remember you were doing that story.
Yeah, which like 7,000 people read. Literally, no one read that story. It was not a good story.
7,000 people's a lot of people.
Well, but it wasn't. It wasn't a good story. I wrote about the New Heights podcast, but like no one listened to the podcast last year. You know what I mean?
Are
and now
I don't think it was like the number one podcast last year. It just wasn't Swift level.
Are they too famous now because Kylie has become so popular? Is that why?
Okay. Definitely.
Okay.
It's because of Kylie. It's Kylie's fame that brought this all on.
I'm gonna give Kylie credit. Like she's doing.
She seems so cool.
She's doing all this media. She's doing great at it.
She's very cool.
Yeah, she's really good at it.
And also, to Kylie's credit, like taking advantage of the moment. A lot of good sponsored content on Kylie's Instagram.
Yes.
Now. They're raking it in.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, but also like.
Which I mean, if Jason's gonna retire, you need those extra streams of income.
You do.
Yeah. No, she supported
Which also,
women.
not for nothing. If he wants to play again, he's gonna make like $14 million. Like.
Well, isn't the timing of it's just crazy that like they did the Amazon Prime documentary thing, and then like Travis starts dating Taylor, and then now they're like all.
You're a little bit suspicious.
Oh, you think there's a script here?
I don't know. It's just like all of these things on separate brothers happening like at the same time is interesting. I guess you could just say, oh, they were both in the Super Bowl last year.
I mean,
maybe it's as simple as that.
I think what I would say is if the whole thing was planned and packaged.
Yeah.
Whoever did it nailed it.
Nailed the delivery.
They completely. They became like the two most famous players in the league.
Well, I can't speak to Travis. Like I don't know him well enough, but I can say from Jason's perspective, he's been deliberate about like trying everything exploring as much as he can, so he doesn't retire and looks around and is like, what now? Like so. The stuff like the documentary, the podcast, some of the media, some of the corporate stuff that he's doing, like it's very deliberate on his end.
Yeah. Well, so wait, going back to that tush push really quick, I wanted to ask you guys this. That was the one where they grabbed Jalen's face mask, right?
Yes.
So that play really scared me on a lot of levels. Not really because I thought he was injured or anything, but because all of the reasons that people hate the tush push like were evident in that play, which is it's hard to officiate because that wasn't called, right? Didn't get called because it's hard for the officials to determine like what's really happening.
Good point. Yeah.
They're so close, they're so low, hard to see the action. So that was an argument to get rid of it right there because of the difficulty in officiating it. And then the safety hazard of your quarterback getting his like head whipped around there. So I was like, oh no, like this is, I could see that specific one being used as like a.
You think they're going to get rid of it?
I don't think so.
I think that moment has passed, but I don't know.
I don't think so. Like I'm not getting the vibe that it's like as serious of a thing as it was this time last year, being like, we must legislate this out of the game. I don't get that vibe this year, but that particular play, I was like, oh no, they're going to put that on the, mountain of evidence. And that's why we kept seeing all the like offsides calls this year in alignment because that was like a point of emphasis for officials because
very silly
of how difficult that is.
So when people were making a big deal this year about Jason Kelce moving the ball, were you like, why didn't you just read my story?
Yeah, I tweeted it. I was like, hello.
Just like I was thinking a lot about your story that like Aaron Rodgers was so huffy about like how difficult it was to get young wide receivers involved in that offense.
Yeah.
He leaves, and the very next year,
same thing.
Their offense is unbelievable with all of these young wide receivers just being used correctly.
Yeah, like week 1, I was at Bears-Packers, and I was like, let me not overreact here because it's week 1. And like Jordan Love was not like the Jordan Love that he was at the end of the year. He was honestly like mediocre in the game. But like I went into the locker room post game and I'm just talking to the rookies and I'm like, hey, how do you feel with Jordan? Because you could just like sense that like it was totally different. And I think there were like 2 different young receivers who had caught touchdown passes in that game, if I remember correctly.
And so like more and more kept coming as the season
went on.
Yes,
and so I talked to them and they were like, I'm like, have you earned his trust? Which was the exact same question that I asked the prior year about Aaron.
Okay.
And they were like, of course, I've always had his, like it was like, last year it was actually something they had to think about.
He hasn't asked me to like inject ivermectin in front of him and like go go on a darkness retreat and talk about chemtrails. It's really freeing.
So their whole last year it was actually something they had to think about before they answered. This year they're like, that's a dumb question. Like of course, like we're on the same. He's trusted me the whole time. Like we're the same age. Like whatever. So that was really interesting. And I've been trying to ask people around the league, like the thing that I really want to write about this offseason, and I don't really think it's actually going to be a good story, but it's something good to debate. It's just like, what is the best way to develop a quarterback? Once you pick the quarterback, and picking is also the hard part, but like I think the real part is like, okay, you pick the guy. The guy could become the guy, but you have to make sure that happens. So how do you develop a quarterback the right way? Because this season we saw Jordan Love, who sat for 3 years and who we saw improve as the season went on and became a great quarterback by the season's end. And then we saw C.J. Stroud, who just right away started, and nobody thought he was going to be good, and he just blew us all away. And so I'm trying to ask people just around the league of, like, what do you think is the best way to develop a quarterback? I talked to, like, both the backup quarterbacks here this week because they're both kind of victims of circumstance.
Blaine
Sam
Gabbert,
Darnold and Blaine Gabbert. Because Blaine, he goes...
We have a Blaine Gabbert, like Josh McCown, name all your touchdown
so good.
passes video that'll come up on the YouTube page
So
later.
good. That's so good.
Anyway, go ahead.
Blaine, the team was sold in like week 8 of his rookie year. He's like, yeah, in one team meeting, they fired the head coach and they sold the team. And I was like, damn. And he's like, yeah, consistency is the key. So both Sam and Blaine were like, you need to have the same people around the rookie. And I just think we keep seeing teams over and over and over again mess that up.
So
and Chicago's
it's so
about to do it again.
It's so interesting, though, because it's hard to disentangle it, right? Because if the quarterback is good, then nobody's going to get fired.
Right.
Right? Like, and you can make the case for, okay, like Jordan Love got to sit for a long time, and that really helped him. And Patrick Mahomes got to sit for a year. Maybe that's the way to do it. But also, the reason that those guys were able to sit is because they were in healthy organizations that were able to be patient. So the chicken or the egg of it is very difficult.
Right. And it's like the teams that are in the position to draft the quarterbacks high are already, they suck, and they're already like barely surviving.
Yes.
So like if I was the Bears, just using Chicago as an example, to escape that cycle, I would have fired everyone.
Yeah.
And then brought it, like, maybe you keep Ryan Poles, but, like, I would have fired the coaching staff just with the logic of, because that coaching staff is going into this season trying to save their jobs again, right? Like, I don't think Matt Eberflus is entering the season feeling, like, super secure in his job. So if they draft Caleb Williams or whoever the quarterback is, like, you know, it's just creating the situation where, like, the coaching staff needs them to play well right away, and there's pressure, and you're rushing things. And so, I don't know, I just see it all playing out that way again.
Yeah, so my read on that is I think that there's too much attention paid to the position and not enough attention paid to the player/person, right? Like, there are some quarterbacks who would be great independent of circumstances. Whether it is the way they play, whether it's their mental makeup, right? Whether it's and then there's some people who need the environment around them. So I don't think, and I think one of the mistakes that is made sometimes in coaching is to think that just because you coach player X this way, player X, not the draft prospect, just because you draft player X this way, that's the way to develop every player like that, right? And so and it's the same thing with quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes would probably be an outstanding player wherever he went, but I
don't know.
You don't think so? You think that? You think Andy Reid?
Patrick Mahomes is. I
think probably I think eventually, but I don't know. I think like if he was in, Because if you watch his like Texas Tech tape, I mean, he has matured so much.
You wouldn't want to hire Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator?
No, like he's matured so much. So I don't know. I think probably ultimately you're right, but I do think like a team could have messed him up.
It's also, from the Eagles' perspective, the question that has plagued them is not how to develop a quarterback, but how to like maintain that development. Because we have seen, we saw with Carson Wentz, and like who knows what happened with Jalen Hurts this year. But now it seems like he's at an inflection point. Is he going to get back to 2 years ago, or is it going to sort of stagnate? Like, how do you continue to get the most out of that guy?
Yeah.
Are you asking
I'm
me?
just saying.
That's the existential Eagles question.
And it goes back to the player person too, right? Like sometimes conditions around the player changes, whether it's their health and it affects certain things with them, whether it's the contract, whether it's the people around them, whether it's how they're emboldened within the building or not emboldened, right? Like there's so much. The thing that I've realized being around the players for the last 13 years is like how overly human these guys are, right? We talk about them as if like they're programmable machines, but like these guys will feel
Jalen
slight.
Sometimes talks like one though.
Sure, but these guys feel like slighted by a remark that a coach might say, by a remark that a player might say. Like they are no different than anyone else, and one thing can tilt their day or ruin their day just like that.
Yeah. What do you guys think of? Well, I have two Eagles questions.
Okay,
sure.
I have
one
was NFL question for you.
And I have a player X
Was Jalen really hurt this year, like more than we think he was?
I don't think he was hurt less than we think he was. So yeah. So I think that I don't think that he was.
Is he getting surgery? I haven't followed closely. Like, is he?
I haven't heard the surgery.
I would be shocked if he's not getting anything done.
Now he did play in the Pro Bowl last week, so I don't think the finger is the issue. I'm curious most about the knee. Yeah, I'm curious most about the knee.
Because I feel like he was just so much less dynamic as a rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, I from the Eagles fans' perspective, I hope that he was injured, because if he wasn't injured and the superpower of his running ability changing the offense was just taken out of the offense for other reasons, that would be a concern.
That would be bad. Yeah. And then my second question was, okay, so entering this year, how is Sirianni's job security? Like, what's the sense that you got of like how
he needs to win this year?
He got half fired essentially.
Right.
So I don't think he does. I don't think it's very secure. Yeah.
If they lose in the first round next year, or they don't make the playoffs, then there'll be a new coach. In my opinion.
Actually, first round it would be hard to fire a guy for making the playoffs 4 years in a row. But yeah, it depends on the tenor of it all.
I think Jeffrey wants to see progress. I think Jeffrey Lurie wants to see progress. Yeah.
And what Matt Patricia, he got fired. What's he doing now?
Well, Matt Patricia is a dynamic coach that everybody in the league would really love to ask their staff. The Eagles did decide they put him in a really difficult position, and they had decided what would be best for him would be to give him a chance to spread his wings elsewhere.
Oh my God, that's so generous.
It's so generous of them. Meanwhile, the dastardly Sean Desai is the one who really put them down. Yes, Jordan Mailata taking a picture with former teammate Alex Singleton.
Nice. A quick Prospect X question, if I can. Well, actually,
I don't have one yet. Do you have an idea?
I feel like I'm the odd man out here, or the odd person out here, because Bo has an affinity for Christian Ellis, and Christian Ellis was once Prospect X.
Let him get out of the building.
What's what cost them the season?
I mean, he was the best linebacker.
It was the inflection point of the season.
For those who don't know,
Christian Ellis is. I mean, it's a very clear
Big Dom and Christian Ellis. That's how the Eagles season went down.
Big Dom is a distraction from what really happened. It's Christian Ellis.
So
is he on Radio Row? By the way, I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw him like
Ellis.
No, Big Dom.
So Caitlin does an outstanding job every year with Prospect X, where she identifies someone leading up to the draft and kind of tracks them throughout the draft, and you find out the identity after the draft. Christian Ellis was once that player. But so I was going to ask you, Bo, was that the Senior Bowl last week?
He has another brother who's coming into the NFL.
I was just going to say,
There's like 7 of them.
Yeah, a lot of Ellises.
So what's the process now? What's the process now for finding Prospect X?
Okay, so the process, I was at the Senior Bowl, and I start kind of asking around at the Senior Bowl, but it's too early because you have to wait to see who gets invited to the Combine. which I don't
You
think
want-
they've
you want
even
someone who
released
doesn't
it yet.
get invited,
Yeah,
right?
I need a no combine person. Actually, this year is going to be interesting how I'm selecting because the All-Star landscape changed.
Okay.
Because before my criteria was no Senior Bowl, no East-West Shrine Game, no NFLPA, because those were the top 3 games. So I was like, okay, if a guy gets invited to the Hula Bowl or College Gridiron Showcase, that's fine. But now there's no NFLPA game. So the Hula Bowl became like the 3rd game. And so I was asking, what I was really asking scouts at the Senior Bowl was like, was the Hula Bowl talent level like really that of the 3rd game? And they were kind of like, no. So I think I'm going to be okay with the Hula guy. We'll see. I'm going to have to see how it pans out. So, yeah, I start asking around, like, right at the Combine, like, who's not here?
Yeah.
Who almost got in? Because you can find out sometimes, as you guys know, like, how many votes somebody got to go to the Combine. So if they're, like, right on the threshold of, like, 12 to 15 votes, like, they were right there. And it's different per position how many votes you need to get in. It's not like, okay, you have to get 16. It's not like that. It's, like, just depending on the volume of players at each position. It's different every year. But, I'll ask agents. I'll ask Jeff Foster with the Combine used to help me and tell me things, but he doesn't do that anymore, which is sad. But anyways, I check their Combine votes, and then, I just start pulling around. And then pro days you got to wait for the pro days too, because if a guy pops off and runs fast at a pro day, then it's like, oh, great, that's my guy. So yeah, that's my process. So we've got a couple months to go through where I can pick one, but yeah.
Here's the thing that I want to ask you about, because we poked fun the other day at Zach not getting the invite to Ron Goodell's press conference.
Yeah.
You got the invite.
I got the invite.
First of
Golden
all,
ticket.
did it come in like a really nice like wedding invitation?
What if it
you
did?
opened it up and it's like a pigskin
It's a pop-up
ribbon
card, yeah.
And you have been invited to grace Roger Goodell with your presence. And how did it go?
No, it was first it was a text less than a week ahead of time. I think I was not on the original list. I think I was like on the backup or like the second list. Yeah,
the
so
B-list.
they texted me and were
People
like,
who aren't coming to the wedding, then you have some seats at the table.
Yeah,
Right.
we had a couple cancellations.
right. So
You
I
don't-
think
but you
that
did
was
not
me.
get a +1.
No, I did not get a +1. So they texted me, and then you get the email later. But like it was difficult because you had to like change. Like I had to change my plans because my flight was getting in like just before
wow.
because they
So
didn't
Monday,
know.
yeah.
Then the actual press conference itself was interesting. Like I think 125 journalists were invited, which like that's like a decent number. But you talk
That's
to
training
the,
camp in Philly, by the way.
Yeah, like, and I thought it actually was, like, more efficient than in the past because, like, as you guys probably remember, quiz, who got the first question last year? Who
Last
got
year,
the first question last
Donna
year?
Kelce.
Thank you. Donna freaking Kelce gets the first question to the commissioner last year. And it was about, how do I get you on the podcast? Come on, what are we doing? Like, that's not, like...
I respect the game. We've been doing that all week.
Yeah, I mean, she hustles. She hustles. But like,
That's like my number one question.
the point is, the NFL, she could not have asked that without the NFL knowing she was going to ask that.
Oh, of course, that's
Giving
the
her the
plan. Yeah,
microphone
yeah.
first, choreographing the entire sideshow distraction. So this year, I actually did think it was like serious business. It was like hard questions for the commissioner. He talked for almost an hour. There was only one planted question from a Play 60 kid. So actually, the way that it was run, I'm like, okay, that was good. But
Throwing shade at the Play 60 kid.
yeah, I am, because it's like, why? I don't know. So I thought it was actually efficient.
Moms
but,
that play 60 kids are out.
But I talked to the PFWA, which is kind of like our union, but it's not a union, like representing the
Got a
writers.
chapter president over here.
Yeah, here we go.
Not a very strong one.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
we're fighting for
the
media
weakest
access.
union that there possibly is.
We're fighting for media access. And
All it is just getting on our knees and begging for things.
yeah, please let us in the locker room.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Please.
Yeah.
Anyways, the president of the whole thing, he was like, Calvin Watkins, who covers the Cowboys, he's like, anytime you have like people who are invited, people who are not, like if you have to get an invite to ask the commissioner
Of
a question,
course.
he's like, I have a problem with that. So, I put that in my art. I just wrote something about that and like put that in there. And like, I think it was, I wanted to write about it because I'm like, I can just
it's
see
ridiculous.
them doing this every year and just dwindles and
exactly.
dwindles and dwindles and dwindles.
Until it's on the NFL
Until they
Network.
don't even
Until
have
it's,
one.
and it's only NFL Network employees asking questions.
And it's just a moderated panel with Goodell and whoever has the Super Bowl, whatever network has the Super Bowl that year.
Right.
So yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
And you got to ask a question.
I
this
did.
Was your first question to Roger?
This was my first one. I was shocked.
Were you nervous?
No. Everyone, like, I think they want you to, like, stand up to ask a question, but, like, I had my
don't play
computer.
their game.
No, I didn't.
Don't
I was
play their
like,
game.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'm staying seated.
Yeah.
So I got the mic.
It's
and
too deferential to have to stand up.
It's kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
I, like, you know, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not.
Good for you.
Yeah. I just stayed
Well,
seated.
it's part of the TV program. When you stand up, the camera goes on to you. So it's
Yeah,
like.
but don't play their game.
Right. They don't need my face.
You're a journalist.
My NIL, my name, image, and likeness.
Yes,
like,
yes.
what am I getting? Anyway, so yeah, it was
You're getting to
interesting.
ask him a question.
And then I love this part. You can never get a follow-up in because
Yeah.
they immediately remove the microphone from you. But this was actually kind of funny. I was sitting next to Sean Reed of The Athletic, and he asked the commissioner about, I think it was about like the Gerard Mayo succession plan, that loophole of that you can pick your successor in a coaching contract. He was asking about that and like if that would be damaging to the Rooney Rule, like as a way that teams might be getting around that in the future. And the commissioner like said no, basically, and then Sean did actually get to ask follow-up because I was sitting next to him with the mic, and I just went like this.
Good teammate
held it
right
in front of
there.
them, and I was like, yeah, let's go. So that was kind of fun. That was nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Anything you're working on this week before we get going?
I did have a story that came out yesterday that I really like how it turned out. If you want to read about the Niners, it is about Kyle Shanahan having cameras and listening in on his position coach. Which actually, you guys should look into this. I heard that Philly might also do this. I don't know. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't.
Well,
okay.
They tape every meeting.
Right. Yeah. But is Sirianni or
to me, that doesn't sound like a Sirianni.
No,
that sounds like
possibly
a Howie.
like watching live, because most teams will tape their installs, obviously, because then they can refer back to them.
Exactly.
If you're not there, you can catch up. If you sign a player mid-season, you can hand them, email them or whatever, their server, blah, blah, blah. So most teams do that. But the difference with the Shanahans, and it started with Mike, they watch in real time, and they're listening in real time. So, like, if they hear something where they're like, that's wrong.
It's kind of creepy.
They can go in, and Kyle now, because of Zoom technology, he can just unmute himself and speak into the room. And so the Niners quarterbacks were like, we call it the voice of God, because his voice will just appear.
Wouldn't you hate that as a coach?
I would hate that.
Like
the coaches that I would say 97% of the coaches that I talked to were like, we love it. It made us better coaches. It's kind of weird, but we love it.
Right.
Like, they're like, I'd rather be on the same page as him.
But that's them on the record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't run from the fire. Run to it, right? So,
and
don't be afraid of pressure.
There were contrary opinions, but I couldn't even anonymously include because of the fear of the power of the Shanahan
Is it
tree.
only during meetings, or is it just like a nonstop 24/7 feed?
I believe it's just in meeting time.
Okay, then that's not so bad, actually.
But
like if you're a coach, like you had a tough day, you want to spend 10 minutes just
and you do have the ability. You
know.
can mute it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like if you want to stop the audio from coming out of your room, you can. Now that it's on Zoom, you can mute it. And when Mike was doing it in Denver and Washington before Zoom technology, they had like a switch on the wall that you could turn off or on with the audio. And I believe in those days, like it was 24/7 video happening. Like. Unless you hit the switch. And then it was like, well, now we can talk and we're muted, essentially.
Interesting.
I would say whenever I'm in a building, in the Eagles building, I just assume that, like, they can hear me speak. Right?
Well, especially if we're in, like, the press conference rooms with the hot mics everywhere.
Oh, yeah. That's why I typically go outside.
The Bills
if you
situation
want to talk.
this year. Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
Okay. All right. Well, you can read that on The Athletic. You can follow Kaylin everywhere. And that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. The promised interview with a former Wulf camp crush, a BWCC. We'll save that for tomorrow's episode. Very exciting to get to talk to one of my true heroes. And lots more coming on tomorrow's show. This is a predecessor of Christian Ellis, who has had a very fruitful NFL career. And what a call, what an eyeball that was from Wulf back in 2019, I think. That'll do it. Thank you to Julia for making it all happen today. Thank you to Zach. Thank you to Donovan McNabb and DeAndre Swift and Zier Franklin and Torrey Smith and Kaylin Kaler for joining us on the show today. We will talk to you tomorrow as we close things out from Radio Row. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.